wanted to explore energy now, and particularly what we're seeing in the United States at the moment. We've seen dramatic growth in their unconventional gas industry. I know, Gary, you were recently in Houston for the LNG 17 conference. Did you come back from that with a more or less concerned about the outlook for LNG companies here in Australia?
I came back very positive about our future in the regional energy export business, in particular LNG. And I think in the context of the region, because most of our LNG contracts are sold on long-term basis, on prices that are understood, then I don't see a short-term impact on that. However, across the next 15 or 20 years, what happens out of resources in East Africa, what potentially may happen out of the US, may support Australian gas volumes, but I actually see Australian gas volumes going in excess of 90 million tonnes a year. A decade ago, we struggled to get to 15 million tonnes.
Yet, as you say, there are a lot of challenges to that, and increasingly analysts are saying that we've seen all the LNG projects that are going to be approved in this phase that have been approved. Now, there's quite a few still on the drawing board. That would mean that those projects aren't going to go ahead in the near term.
But when you look at what we've achieved, we've grown from less than 15 million tonnes 10 years ago to achieving 90 million tonnes in the course of the next 5 years on what's currently committed construction. I think the work that was done by my predecessor, Martin Ferguson, and his Ian Macfarlane, to put the foundation in place to build a robust export LNG sector is currently paying dividends and will for a generation to come.
Reg, I want to touch on the unconventional potential here in Western Australia. Obviously, the rise of that industry has had a massive impact on the US. What's Western Australia's potential look like?
The simple answer is yes, it could well be, and I feel very positive that it will in fact. We saw a positive announcement yesterday from the Premier, for example, facilitating development in the Canning Basin. So from our point of view, it's a very positive move. There'll be debates over its development, but we must distinguish that, and I'm particularly thinking of the debates that are occurring in New South Wales around coal seam gas. It's not coal seam gas, it's shale gas, it's at considerable depth. We have the expertise to develop in a very safe way. It'll contribute fundamentally to the market.
Is there anything about Western Australia which may help it avoid becoming a big target for interest groups?
There are many lessons learnt out of the experience on the East Coast, and there were mistakes made in the early days of the discussion and the interaction with community and other land users. I think it would be folly not to learn from those lessons.
I want to get an energy consumer's view on this. Ken, energy would be a pretty big input cost for Atlas, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that's the cost of energy is clearly going to be important to the continued growth of our business.
Do you see a need for a domestic gas policy? Would something like that help the mining industry, do you feel?
Yeah, it's a sensitive issue, that one, isn't it? Look, I think there is at least some benefit to be had out of considering, the process of withholding gas and keeping it for the domestic economy.
Gary, what's your view on this? Would you encourage state governments to explore those sorts of options?
Well, I think to pick up Ken and Reg's points, that the development of the new gas resources onshore in Western Australia may have a terrific impact on our domestic gas market.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is that the policy doesn't help encourage that response?
I've never seen a domestic gas reservation policy actually create more molecules for the domestic market.
Reg, I mean, with members on both sides of the equation there, how do you manage that conflict between your members?
At a very high level. And look, the default position is always let the market determine the outcomes, and that certainly happens in respect to price. But I think the point that Gary makes, we have had a gas reservation policy in this state for many years, and we've seen quite phenomenal investment, which is continuing to be rolled out, of course, with LNG. So it hasn't prevented. And there are arguments for its removal, and I understand those arguments, but it hasn't prevented the development of the industry in Western Australia.
Fascinating times ahead. Thanks for your time.